I'm 88 years old and I woke up this morning with the same feeling I've had for as long as I can remember. A quiet sense that I somehow fell short, even though my life on paper looks full enough. At this age, mornings come slowly. My body doesn't rush anymore, and neither do my thoughts. I sit on the edge of the bed longer than I need to, just listening to the house settle. There's a stillness now that wasn't there when I was younger. Back then, silence felt like something to escape. Now it feels like something that waits for me. I don't have many mornings left, I know that. I'm not saying it for drama. It's just a fact you start to live with when you're this old. And with that fact comes clarity I didn't have when I was busy proving myself to people who aren't here anymore. I'm not telling this story to be understood or forgiven. I don't need that now. I'm telling it because I finally understand something that followed me my entire life, and I don't want it to stay locked inside me. I never felt like I was enough. Not as a son, not as a husband, not as a father, not even as a man sitting alone in his late 80s with nothing left to prove. What surprises me isn't that I felt that way, it's how long I accepted it as normal. When I was younger, I thought that feeling was just part of being responsible, part of growing up, part of doing what needed to be done. No one around me talked about feeling whole. We talked about working, providing, enduring. I was born into a world that rewarded effort, not softness. My father was a quiet man, not cruel, just distant. He worked long hours and came home tired. When he spoke, it was usually to correct something. He wasn't unkind. He just didn't know how to say, "You're doing fine." I learned early that praise was rare and silence meant you weren't in trouble. That became my standard. In my 20s, I carried that standard like a rulebook I never questioned. I found a job that paid steadily. I showed up on time. I didn't complain. People trusted me because I was dependable. That felt close enough to being valued, so I didn't ask for more. I married young. She was kind in ways I didn't fully understand back then. She laughed easily. She asked questions I didn't know how to answer. When she said she loved me, I believed her. But some part of me assumed she'd eventually see what I saw. That I was almost enough, but not quite. I worked harder after we married, longer hours, more responsibility. I told myself I was doing it for us. And in a way I was, but I was also chasing something I couldn't name. A sense that one day I'd arrive somewhere and finally feel settled inside myself. Our house was small, the floors creaked, the kitchen window stuck in the summer. We didn't have much, but we had routines. Dinner at the table, news on the radio, weekends spent fixing things that didn't really need fixing. She would talk about her day, and I would listen halfway, already thinking about the next thing I needed to do. I didn't ignore her out of cruelty. I just thought there would always be time later to be more present. Later became a habit. When the children came, I promised myself I'd be different than my father. I promised I'd be around. And I was, physically. I attended the important events. I paid for what they needed. I made sure the light stayed on. But I see now that I brought the same quiet distance into our home that I grew up with. Not because I wanted to, but because I didn't know another way to be. They would show me drawings or tell me stories, and I'd smile and nod, already tired from the day. I thought consistency mattered more than attention. I thought love was something you proved by not leaving. The years moved like that, one after another. Jobs changed. The children grew, my hair thinned. My body started reminding me that time was passing, even when I wasn't paying attention. Every so often, usually late at night, that feeling would surface again. That sense of not being enough. I'd wonder why promotions didn't satisfy me, why compliments made me uncomfortable, why rest felt undeserved. I didn't talk about it. Men my age didn't talk about things like that. We worked through it. We distracted ourselves. We kept going. The cost didn't arrive all at once. It never does. It came in small moments I didn't think were important. A birthday dinner I missed because of overtime. A conversation I postponed because I was tired. A weekend I spent fixing the garage instead of sitting with my wife on the porch. Each choice felt reasonable at the time. Necessary even. But they added up to a distance I didn't notice until it was already there. My wife aged quietly beside me. I see that now. I see how she waited for me to slow down, how she learned not to ask twice, how her laughter softened over the years. When she got sick, it wasn't sudden. It crept in slowly like everything else. Doctor visits, medications lined up on the counter, the house growing quieter. I took care of her the best I knew how. I followed instructions. I made schedules. I did what needed to be done. But there were things I never said. Things I assumed she already knew. That I loved her. That she mattered more than all the hours I spent away. That I was sorry for not knowing how to show up better. The day she died, the house felt too large for the first time. Not empty, just unfinished, like a conversation that had been interrupted and never resumed. After that, time lost its shape. Days blended together. The children called more at first, then less, as life pulled them elsewhere. I didn't blame them. I had done the same. It was in the quiet years after her death that the understanding finally came. I realized that the feeling of never being enough didn't come from failure. It came from measuring myself by things that could never give that feeling back. I spent decades trying to earn a sense of worth through usefulness, through reliability, through sacrifice. And those things matter, yes, but they don't tell you who you are when there's no one left to impress. I wasn't unlovable, I wasn't deficient, I was just never taught that being present counted as much as being productive. Now at 88, there's no fixing the past. That's something you have to accept or go mad. I can't go back and sit longer at the table. I can't hear her laugh the way it used to sound. I can't ask my children about the small details of their lives when they were still living under my roof. What's gone is gone. That's the part people don't like to talk about. Some things don't get repaired. They just get carried. I don't wake up every day in despair. There is peace here too. Gratitude for what I did have, for the years I was given, for the love that existed, even if I didn't always recognize it in the moment. But the understanding came late. Too late to change much. If you're listening to this and you're younger, I'm not here to tell you what to do. I wouldn't have listened either. I only want to tell you what I wish I had known. That feeling of never being enough doesn't mean you need to do more. Sometimes it means you need to stay. Stay in the conversation. Stay at the table. Stay with the discomfort of being seen instead of hiding behind effort. You don't need to earn your place in the lives of the people who love you. You just need to be there while it's still possible. I don't say that with certainty. I say it with the weight of someone who waited too long to understand it. My time now is simple. I water the plants. I sit by the window. I think about the people who shaped my life, whether they meant to or not. Some evenings, the old feeling comes back, that sense of falling short. But now I can name it, and naming it takes away some of its power. I was enough. I just didn't know it when it mattered most. If this meant something to you, you don't need to respond. Just sit with it for a moment. That might be enough. As for me, I'll keep sitting here, listening to the house settle, grateful for the understanding, even if it arrived at the very end.